Good morning, everyone. This is Charlotte and we're chatting in cars. This is a podcast where I pick out topics from a bag and I discuss them at length, going on tangents and adventures just to titillate your mind. There is a disclaimer at the start of this. I do swear and I do talk about sensitive topics, so if you feel like you might get your feelings hurt, if you might be offended, absolutely turn over the channel to Teletubbies. I don't want to hurt your feelings. Come on. If you want to hear some weird shit, carry on. The topic for today is, bearing in mind I'm doing two today, so I might be tired on the second one, is female, what did I write down? Come on, read my writing. Female independence. Yes. Female independence. Now this has been something that's drilled into me since birth. It's been particular circumstances that have made this occur. Basically my dad was useless and is useless. Not representative of all men. I know there are very capable, very attractive men because of it. I find capable man very fucking attractive, quite frankly. Outdo me, I'm impressed. It's like, I'll show you how capable I am. If you can match that and go one better, fuck yeah. But my female independence came from, and of course, yes, I am female in the biological sense, although I do have masculine traits, if you want to go that way. If you recognize gender, all that kind of shit, I don't know. Mine came from my mum, essentially, because she was given the circumstances where she married a useless male, in the sense that he was in and out of jobs, he couldn't provide for us, he didn't want to back us up, there was no emotional connection with us between him and his kids, and he stayed physically, he didn't bail physically. There's a lot of dads that just disappear, they go out for a pack of cigarettes and don't come back. His cigarettes came from her wallet, so it was that kind of relationship. So my mum was stuck in this sort of context where she couldn't rely on the male in her life, and she had kids by the time that became incredibly apparent. And the way she raised us was to never have to rely on, let alone a man, or anyone for that matter, except ourselves. And this was drilled into us from a very young age. I mean, I remember what I deem my domestication started at 5. The first thing we were taught was very simple basic traits like learn to cook at 5. I was making things with hammers and wood at 4. I remember that because I've still got it. I've still got on my, when I was like 4 in pre-primary, we were given hammers and bits of wood and stuff like that, which is very odd. I wouldn't give a 4-year-old hammers and nails at this age. But I made, what did I make? I made a frigate, which is, anyone who's been in the Navy or the Army knows what a frigate is. I made a sub, and I made a Chinook, because I'm weird like that. Not that I had any particular penchant for the armed forces, I made them, and I don't know why, because I was 4 at the time. But, I was probably something where my dad's been, left something around the house, and I'm like, oh, I'll make one of them. I don't know why. What do 4-year-old girls usually make when they're, I mean, I've heard of kids making binoculars out of toilet rolls and stuff like that. What did you make? I made the armed forces. Ah, okay. How old are you 4? All right, you want to go play on the bouncy castle now? Yes. And then we're definitely doing finger painting. Don't you fucking forget it. It's like, holy shit. Anyway, so that was interesting. But those skills, that hands-on sort of tactile knowledge came from my mum. It didn't come from my dad. My dad is useless. He doesn't do anything like that. If he's making anything, and he's heavily into war gaming. My brother's into Warhammer. He does all the painting figurines and I love it. It's cool because you can watch all the art come out in the figures. I like the art side of things. I don't understand the strategy of the rules in the game and actually playing it, but I love watching the little figures getting done up. So yeah, very interesting to look into if you want to go into that. Games Workshop and all that. But my dad was into, or is into, Napoleonic, so he'll be looking at that time period and anything to do with the Second World War. So maybe that's where I picked up that interest in, warlike stuff. And I do have it. I consider it part of my masculine traits. But there are women who are masculine as well, who are into war as well. I mean, look at Boudica. That's part of my heritage as well. So, get pissed off and march on London. Why not? Was it pissed off? Or, some serious problems happened with that story, but But female empowerment has always been in my life. My mom didn't want us to be useless. She didn't want us to be at the mercy of a male. I used the term male instead of man because, you know, there's a big difference between a man and a boy. So if I say male, it encompasses biologically all of it. I don't know if it's some kind of trauma response. I mean, she was not the warmest of people, and I do know that she tried maybe later in life to try and make it up, but it was too little, too late. So as a result of her parenting methods, we became intensely independent, particularly the girls. My brother was left to my dad's parenting skills, which were not great, but he turned out all right because he was more like my granddad Fred. My sisters and I, there's two sisters I've got, my younger and my older, and we came out fiercely independent, and we don't take shit from anyone, let alone guys. So it's a bit hard to find, you know, someone. We don't like to kowtow. So my older sister particularly used to like to get into things like bar fights and stuff. So she had a reputation around the local pub, and it's like, oh, you're so-and-so's sister. I'm like, yeah. It's like, so now I can't go to the pubs she went to and stuff like that. So, you know, I don't know if it's the way we were raised or just, you know, like Irish heritage or whatever, I don't know. But my sister's reputation preceded me. So she wasn't one to, you know, back down, which is admirable, I suppose. Because, you know, you don't want to be used or abused. Not that it'll stop you getting used or abused, really. The toughness side of things. We were raised to be incredibly capable. My mum was not defined by gender rules. You know, girls stay in the kitchen, boys do the outside stuff. She didn't believe in all that shit. She said, you're going to do it all. And so, you know, it was a fun experience. By 16, I was digging up slate floors and shit with a hammer and chisel and, you know, renovating houses and stuff. I actually thoroughly enjoy renovating houses. I like all this deemed boy stuff. I like construction and stuff like that. I like building. I also like fucking sewing and stuff. I like cooking. Anything that's in creative, you know, creative stuff I like doing. But it wasn't the same. It's like, and she made us, you know, want to be financially independent as well. I mean, you got that Beyonce song, it's Independent Women. It's like, yes, I can see why you went that way. It's like, I mean, if Beyonce came from a background where men were just fucking useless and couldn't help at all, and she found herself, you know, relying on horrible means and ways to have to provide for not only her but both of them, then I can understand why she was so, you know, fiercely adamant about being an independent woman. I mean, I grew up with songs like TLC's Scrubs. It's like, and there was a lot of emphasis on, yeah, get your own fucking job, get your shit together. I'm not going to provide for you. But if you think about it, traditionally women are seen as the gold diggers, aren't they? I mean, traditionally, it's like, what is this? The woman stays in the home and feeds off the man's income. It's like, I couldn't do that myself because I feel I'd be letting the team down. I don't want to be a burden. I will work. I have worked. For the most part, when I was married, I provided for both of us in a large way. I think if we were looking at wage distribution, it was me earning 2/3 of the pay and him earning 1. And I made the difference because I had the solid teaching job and he was a PT. But now divorced, I find I have a lot more resources and a lot more time, and I'm doing a lot more with it, which I find fascinating and liberating as well. I didn't realize how heavy he relied on me until he left, which is a blessing. At the time it felt like shit, but it was a blessing. I mean, if you're pulling weight for 2 people and then suddenly one of those people just lifts off your back, you're like, holy shit, this is a lot lighter and I can go faster and further. Wow. It's interesting. I don't know why people aren't being encouraged to be that way now. I suppose this was a bit of a harsh lesson, the way my mum taught it. You want financial independence, but it seems to be a large chunk of people just looking for that bailout now. It's like, I mean, I did look at an article the other day where there seems to be a common thread through time where I think they were researching newspaper articles or historical texts or something like that, and they were looking for the direct quote of people don't want to work these days or something like that, and it went back as far as 1800s. There is somewhere on Google where it shows you that study, and I laugh my ass off. So it seems to be a running theme that no one wants to actually work. I found that hilarious. But I'm looking at it more like it's a subgroup of people that don't want to work. There's always those people that want to be parasites and sort of leech onto someone who's willing to put the arse into gear and get the job done. I would love to find someone who's like me, because I think that would be fun to build with them, especially someone who's like project-minded. That would be hell cool. Yeah, two people that are willing to give them work, that would be so fucking cool. It would get the job done so much faster, and it would be so much better. Whereas, like when I was married, or when I was in my previous ex-boyfriend relationship sort of thing, I found that I was doing all the weight pulling, and I wasn't getting anything back, and it just drained my resources and my energy levels, and I didn't want to give into it anymore. So, I mean, and as a female, like, we want to be natural nurturers, don't we? We've got that natural mothering instinct. You could argue that males have the same nurturing instincts. I like to think that maybe they're more protective, because, you know, guys are designed to fight, I would assume. Can I assume, or is that sexist? Let's generalize. That'll work. Because of the testosterone I'm looking at. I'm not looking at, gender roles. I'm looking at testosterone. You guys are designed to fight. You're designed to be muscularly bigger than us. Women have got the estrogen, so we're designed to be more emotional. Unfortunately, yes. Fortunately or unfortunately at this point, because there's nothing wrong with feeling. It's when we start hiding feelings or denying feelings that the problems occur, because we get that, you know, cognitive dissonance, where we can't match things together, and it causes like a conflict, inner conflict, and that will fuck you up mentally. You start denying your feelings, you'll wither. You'll never deal with them, you'll get outbursts and overreactions, and it's just not good for you. So you need to feel your feelings, dude. Whether you're male or female. I mean, my mum never liked that we got emotional. Crying, oh my God, do we get punished for crying? We don't cry, right? Favorite phrase was, stop crying, I'll give you something to cry about. And she fucking did, she hit us more. You soon find out that you are not gonna cry. You hurt yourself, you take it in silence, and you shut the fuck up. You know, the amount of times I stub my toe now, it's like, oh, well, that was unpleasant, and you keep moving. You know, stuff like that. My sister, at one point, she was wrestling around with my brother. Yeah, nuts kids. She was only about 12 or 13 at the time, but my brother's like 20 or something at the time. There's a big age, there's a fair whack of age gap. And he, you know, he dropped her on the couch or something like that, and she cracked a collarbone. But she didn't cry. She didn't make a noise. She just went very pale and clammy and almost green. And we didn't know what was going on because she didn't make a sound. She didn't make any noise. She wasn't crying or anything. She must have been in intense fucking pain. But the way my mum had raised us, you take the pain and you don't make a noise, you know, sort of thing. We're conditioned to respond that way. It wasn't until we, you know, found her going into shock. She was only about 12 or 13 that we realized something was really wrong. We took her up to the hospital and she had snapped her collarbone. So she can take on intense amounts of pain and not whisper a sound. She wasn't happy. but that's the way we were raised as women, you know. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I find it hilarious in the gym while I'm watching the guys lift weights and they're making all these weird faces and sounds, and I'm doing, you know, same weights, if not a little bit more, and I'm just not making a you know, not a sound. I'm going, why are you making those noises? They get the whole Arnie thing going, yeah. You're like, what the fuck was that for? It sounds like whales fucking. What are you doing? It's so weird. Stop. I'm like, and they look at you like you're an asshole because you're not making the noises. I'm going, look, you don't need the noises. What is this? This isn't Planet Fitness. You don't get points for pointing out your insecurity. There's no, you know, gong that goes off for loud noises. Shut up. We're trying to concentrate here. So my my mum, my dad didn't really involve himself, besides being a berserker. Yes, I have a very skewed version of male masculinity because of him. Thanks, Dad. Anyway, my mum was like, if you're going to suffer, you're going to suffer quietly. And I think it might have been something to do with toughness as well, because she didn't want us to come across as weak, because weak to her meant incapable, or, you know, not good. And I suppose that's part of the toxic masculinity as well, because men don't like to be coming across as weak, and they don't like crying as far as I see. In that sort of theme, I don't care if guys cry. It's a biological process. You're gonna need to at some point. If you get kicked in the nuts hard enough, you're gonna fucking cry. Just cry. I've been kicked in a snatch before. It hurts. I can only imagine what it feels like for guys with all the dangly bits that are sensitive. I don't mind if guys cry. It's when they sit in the victim mentality that I get the shits, where they don't want to fix anything. I don't like people in general that will sit in that and not want to fix it and just expect people to do things for them. That gives me the shits. Because that's not helping anyone. That's just you sitting there feeling sorry for yourself and pity partying. And pity is no. We don't do that. We find a way out. We fix it. We work on it. Pity. Ugh, come on. So, even if you're born into poverty as a girl, my mum was very adamant that you're going to get a job. You're going to get... We don't do the girly... I say girly, like stereotypically girly, get pregnant, stay home, housewife stuff. She hated the idea of barefoot and pregnant. She hated it. And she told us frequently, she's like, you're not going to get barefoot and pregnant. That is a step down from what you are capable of. You will work. It's like, and I don't know if that comes from like her background where she's like East End of London, Essex, Cockney, Irish. It's always been working class for her. It's working class for us now. I'm a teacher. I don't know if that's middle class or what where you are, but it's working class for us because we are working. There's no trust fund, there's no savings. Often I'm living hand to mouth, but I do it well and I like what I do because it's a good paycheck, I suppose, at this point, and I'm helping kids that have been through similar experiences as me. But I tell you what, I won't get anyone sitting on their ass. I won't tolerate that. It's like no one sits on their ass. Everybody works. I cannot stand trust fund babies. They give me the shits. So, you know, when you find like these housewives that are like, I just want to have babies and stay at home, and you think, I don't know if it's my background or the way I was drilled to perform as a child or as a girl, but I don't like those people. And it's perfectly valid existence if you want to do that. I mean, if to do a job well, you want to concentrate on one thing, don't you? But at 5 years old, that kid gets pushed into a classroom. So you don't see it for 6, 7 hours, 8 hours. So what is your job? Exactly. You'll see it for a little bit before school, you'll see it for a chunk after school, and that's your job, isn't it? Because then it goes to bed at like 8 o'clock at night. So what exactly is parenting at this point? It's like, you think it's a full-time job. It's like, is it? I don't know. Because, you know, just I was raised to think if you're going to have kids, that's a side thing. That's not the main thing. You still provide, you still protect, you do all the things as a grown adult should do. Kids are the bonus. That is not really, you know, the main show. So women are just like, I just want to do the side show. It's like, no. Or men as well, I suppose, becoming more diversified these days. Stay-at-home people. I'm like, yes, you might be cooking and cleaning and all that shit, but that's a finite thing. It's a finite space. It's not like you're cleaning for the rest of eternity. I can clean a house at max in half an hour. It's not a problem. I live alone. I have to clean my shit. I don't have backups. If I don't get it done, then no one gets it done, and we get sick. So yes, that is where I go through. I'm not going to whinge and say, oh, I'm cooking and cleaning at home. And, like when I was married, I was cooking, cleaning, doing taxes, paying bills, working full time, and running around his ass. Anything he needed was provided. I did everything because he was a half-asser. He's like my dad. But, you know, all these skills and things I accumulated as a woman in a marriage, which I thoroughly encourage women to do. Don't just sit on your ass and become complacent because you think it's a done deal. Nothing is finite. Nothing is secure until you're dead, and then even God negotiates, right? We've all heard that line. Nothing is ever permanent. It could switch up on you very fucking soon. So you need to make sure that you are capable and willing to get up off your ass and provide for yourself. There's no excuse these days. I mean, this is what our sex has fought for so hard. Women have the right to work, to provide for themselves, to be financially, at the very least, independent. Same as men can be. So why are we just copping out and being housewives? No, do it all, fuck it. Be as independent as a male, And also do the side part. And the side part, which is the kids, if you choose to do it, should be co-parented. It should be even. That's what we're aiming for at this point. Because it gives both sides of the equation the freedom to actually earn and do their own projects and things like that, whilst also having the conjoined project of kids. I don't know who's still doing that. It just seems as lazy to stay at home and do, claim to be a housewife or a house husband. What else can I do? Education is, the famous quote is, education is the opiate of the masses. It's not. It's not. It is a segue into getting to a better lifestyle, as far as I'm concerned. And I don't just say that from the biased account that I'm a teacher. It's like, I've seen it in action. I've seen the result. If you apply yourself, and yes, we're all growing at different levels and different rates, and we all got different abilities and strengths. I suck at maths. I'm good at English. Other people are good at maths, better in English. It's going to be hard. In some areas, you're going to have to get through it. But it is a step up. It will get you where you need to go. And financial independence, love it or loathe it, it comes from a decent education. Which is why everyone was so fucking upset when the Taliban took over Afghanistan again. The girls got kicked out of schools and stuff like that. Because it kicked them down a notch. It's, besides being intensely controlling and misogynistic, it kicked them out of schools. They couldn't get the freedom of education to, move through society as they needed to. With education comes a good job, hopefully, God willing. And with that, or divine willing, I should say. We're looking at both sides of the coin now. And you can get somewhere in life. You can get out of a shit circumstances. I mean, it might not be in your generation to get out of, intense poverty. Maybe you'll get a step up, but your following generation will get a better life chances if you keep perpetuating the same movement towards education, bettering your lifestyle, reinvestment in yourself, and keep going. It's when people just become blind to their circumstances. They just don't care. It's like, this is the norm. I will just perpetuate what my dad did or my mum did, and that's good enough for me. No, you can get better. You can get out of this shitstorm of fucked up poverty, sitting on welfare lines, hating the fact that you're bored as shit and you can't afford to do anything. You just got to pay attention in school. And yes, it sucks at times and incredibly boring at times too. I've been to some fucked up classes, even as a teacher now, and I get bored my tits off. I hate guided reading with a passion, and anything to do with rotations, literacy rotations, maths rotations. I fucking hate it. I fucking hate it, and I'm the teacher. I also hate sports carnivals, which I'm going to have to do today. Basically, I just want the free money, isn't it? No. Don't we all? But, it's a means to an end. I know that the, $450 I'm taking pre-tax today, I'm going to turn into a better lifestyle for me later. Because I'm, nearly at I'm past my goal for my apartment deposit. So come December, early December, I'm going to start applying to mortgages and stuff like that. I've done it before, so I know the steps. But I know that the shit experiences I'm having like today, things I don't want to do, will be worth it in the end, because I'll be able to get what I want to do later. And that could only come through education. I mean, not only was I educated to perform these tasks, but I was also sitting in the education system and still feeding off it, really. So it's worth the investment. I mean, you have to go to school. I don't know, you just want to hang out with your friends if you're a teenager and just bum around and shit like that, and maybe you're stressed at home. Some fucked up lifestyle choices, and yeah, it's hell now, but if you invest in your education, you can get somewhere later on, and you can change it. You can make the rules. Your finances will improve if you educate yourself. Don't just accept the shit you're sitting in as this is all there's going to be. And there's always ways around it as well. Like, my brother took bridging courses because he failed high school because of our fucked up family life, as far as I'm concerned. That, and he has ADHD and he just can't concentrate for shit. Even I've had to sort of chunk down tasks for him to do. It's like, what do you need to do? All right, I'm going to write you a list. You're going to do this, 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 and we're going to do it in this way. He just doesn't have the focus, which is good because I'm like autistic and I'm hyper-focused when it comes to routine and breaking down shit. So we're a good pair. We're a good match. Just like he's got the sort of ability to loosen me up, and I've got the ability to, buckle him down, get him done. Wow, that sounded wrong. This isn't Alabama. Anyway, Florida. So, yeah, it's good. You got to be independent. You got to get your shit together. Don't rely on other people. Become too complacent in relying on other people. You set yourself up for a fall. If you are one of these people that just wants to stay at home, rely on someone else financially, you're creating a false economy. You're not going to be able to see it through if it does collapse. That's something my ex-husband didn't understand. He tried to play his cards. He tried to be a player. He had a shit job. He probably still has a shit job if he has a job at all. That didn't provide, and I was carrying the bulk of the finances because I'm as Taurus the bull, I'm the worker. He was a fucking Sagittarius. He's up his own ass. If you want to go into ether terms, I just want to be a dreamer. It's like, I want you to get a fucking job. It's weird how we got paired up like that. But I was carrying the bulk, and what he didn't realize was, he gave me that stupid ultimatum where it was all ego driven. I need an open marriage or I'm leaving. I'm like, well, fuck it, I'll leave first. He left first, but I left physically first. And I took all my abundance with me. I'm like, I'm the main earner. I'm not paying alimony or anything like that because we didn't have enough money between us to be of that, ranking. But I know now what I'm physically capable of earning. And I was carrying the weight of us. And he's fuck knows where, but I can tell you what, he's not better off at this point. I bet he's, having to live in a share house with some douche he doesn't like. That's part of the gig. You chose to be an incompetent arsehole. You chose to feed off other people. It doesn't work out well for you if you try that. You have to be self-sufficient. You have to be, able to pull your own weight. I especially encourage this with women, because we tend to get left with the kids. If something goes wrong, we tend to get left with the kids. It's a horrible fact. But because we've got the uterus, apparently, you broke it, you bought it. It seems to be a trend. The amount of single mums I have to work with who have given me some of the most heartbreaking stories of shit that's just gone down with this guy that promised them the world and then, couldn't deliver. And it's part of the lifestyle in high poverty areas. But it's also, a toxic masculine trait. These men don't want to do their job. They just want the free shit. And if it means fly in, fuck, and fly out, that tends to be it as well. They'll tell them they love him and they'll stay around while the going's good. And then as soon as something doesn't go, with them, they bail. And now she's pregnant and she's left with this kid that, she loves, but she can't handle. The worst circumstances I can think of is to be on the dole whilst having family, single parent, because it's a struggle. I don't know what the welfare lines in your areas. I've been on the welfare line several times over because of, where I live and lifestyle choices that were out of my circumstances, out of my ability to understand. So, it got hard to push for for financial support, any support. I didn't find that I had guys I could rely on. I would love a man to rely on. And I would consider him a man if I could. But at the moment, I've just been, provided with a shitload of boys that just don't know what to do, can't be fucked, committing, and and they expect someone to bail them out. It's a shitload of mum issues there, I think. I've got mum issues, but they're the kind of mum issues that stop me putting up with arseholes. I hope, right? And my mum also trained us to lead. She said, you're not going to be a follower sort of thing. She doesn't like, she's a very dominant woman, but she was also a bit of a Valkyrie, you did the wrong thing, she'll cut your fucking head off. And that comes from the Danish Viking line, maybe, I don't know. Thank you, Fred. And what have you put in our bloodstream? I just wanted to make friends. Too friendly. Now we've got a chance for war and pillaging. Come on. But no, she was rough as fuck. Iron-fisted parenting. She didn't want to fuck around. She was going to get the job done. She's going to do it now. And if you didn't comply, she's going to fuck you up. And that's what we've been taught. This is our strength comes from this, I will fuck you up if you fuck up sort of mentality. And it's hard to break, especially when you find someone who's not on the same level as you. It's hard to develop some kind of sympathy for people who are constantly sitting in a state of self-pity as well. It's like, no, we don't do that. We keep going. It's a toughness, but I have to keep reminding myself not everybody works the same way. Not everybody can do the same things. And what seems as common sense and just easy ability to me is not what other people can or are willing to do. I have to keep reminding myself. It's like, that's painful. That teaches you humility though as well, because it's ego in me saying that people have to perform a particular way, and I go full Karen about it. It's like, why are you not doing that properly? And I do have a perfectionist streak, because that stems from, if you fucked it up, my mum will beat the shit out of you. You don't fuck up. You soon learn to avoid that pain. God help you if you make eye contact with her. But I've been taught female independence from a harsh place. It can also be a warm, soft place. Female independence doesn't have to be abrasive. It can be nurturing as well. It's the realization that you don't need to rely on other people. I thoroughly encourage it, because you're going to need it at some point. No one can guarantee what their circumstances are going to become or turn into. And as much as we want to keep the stability of, say, a good marriage or something like that, out of the blue, the other person might die, or your circumstances might change, or you might go through poverty and not realize that you're ever going to get that way. But it's part of the game. All the world's a stage. You don't get to choose your parts, really. You are given parts and skills, and you have to learn to play your role. Sometimes the script says that you lose the person you love, or you lose your home, or you go homeless, or you lose your job, and that's part of the game. You don't get a choice. It's all scripted. As far as I'm concerned, in terms of fate, that is. I'm assuming that we're all following some kind of someone's plan. Otherwise it doesn't make sense. And I've seen a lot of interesting glitches. So there must be something in the ether there. I don't just emphasize female independence. I also emphasize male independence. I do believe that a relationship should be two individual independent people coming together to, work on a project, as far as I'm concerned. I would like, I know it sounds horrible, but I am touchy-feeling. I would like that kind of relationship where you do become enmeshed and you can treat the other person as, your right arm, if you're right-handed, your left arm if you're left-handed. They should be an aid to you. They shouldn't keep their distance, I don't think. It's like two parallel lines running into each other, but also, weaving in and out as well. Touching each other, in nice ways. Come on. No. But, maybe, I don't understand, like I was reading an article the other day that, there's an argument for people sleeping in separate beds. I don't understand that. It's like, that just creates distance. Why would you do that? It's like, I can't sleep next to the person I'm with. Are you sure it's not something that's more deeply ingrained in there? Is it just that you can't stand this person because you've fallen out of love with them? It's like, no. Are you sure? You want to check that? I don't think people question their actions enough. And it's like, I know that when I used to have to go and sleep on the couch because my ex-husband was fucking disgusting, fart-wise, in bed. And he would fill a room, and I couldn't sleep, and it would wake me up, and I would have to go and sleep out on the couch because it just foul. I think things like that contributed to the distance that came between us as well. It had nothing to do with the way I felt for him at the time. I did feel that I loved him at the time, but physically he was turning my guts. So I had to sleep on the couch. I don't know if he took that the wrong way or something like that, but yeah, it wasn't him, surprisingly, because he's, an asshole. But, I couldn't. So, I don't agree with that separation. I think a separation like that causes problems, because it gives room for other people to get involved. I don't like that. Maybe I'm just too needy or something, I don't know, too clingy. But if you love someone, you always want to be with them, as far as I'm concerned. I have no problem with that. So, I have no problem with needy guys. I'm like, fuck it, yeah, bring it on. Finally someone who gives a fuck. I have no problem with that. Some people are like, that's controlling. It's like, is it? Or do you actually just give a fuck? And, what the fuck are you up to that this is the problem? I don't know. Trauma bonding, I don't know. So, where was I going? Oh yeah, female independence. Oh god. That's a stark contrast. I need you to be needy, but then I also want my independence. No, be willing to and prepared to stand on your own 2 feet. Anyone needs to do that. That's not just a female thing. At some point, you are going to lose someone who you depended on, be it financially, emotionally, or, you know, in any way. You can't heavily rely on other people, especially for things like people giving you your happiness. You can't rely on other people to make you happy. You have to find it in yourself. And I know that sounds corny as fuck, but inevitably these people either leave you or die or, you know, find someone else, or, you know, the game plan changes, and, you know, you're just going to have to deal with the fact that you might be you on your own for a bit. Ooh, cute puppy. Oh, I want a puppy like that. Sorry, I'm getting distracted. I don't know what that is. I want one of those. I better get a dog too. I hope so. Anyway, I'm so getting distracted. Puppies! Oh, look at this little tail. Oh my god, no. Christ, where am I going with this? Female independence. Alright, so, as women, as men as well, I'm encouraging people to be independent. Don't rely on other people. And I know it might be a result of my trauma bonding. You know, trauma from childhood as well. But to be honest, it's only ever done me right. It's like, I have no problem with making connections with people, but I know if I'm going to be left or abandoned, I'm going to be all right on my own. There's no problem with that. I know I cannot rely on people wholly because they have perpetually let me down at some point, and I know that's just a fact of life. No one is perfect, and no one can keep supporting other people all the time without a problem. Things happen. The thing is to be able to adapt to it, and not let it get to you. So I'm going to leave it there, I think, because if I go any further, I'll dribble, and I've had about 5 cups of coffee. So it is Wednesday. I'll do another podcast after work, hopefully, because I'm still trying to make up from losing my voice last week. I hope you have a great day. Take it easy. Try and seek out some form of independence. Reevaluate whether you're, you know, too needy or not. I don't mind it myself. Some things I'm all right with people being needy about. Some things I will not tolerate people being needy about. It depends on what you're actually valuing in life. I will see you on the way back. Bye.